Do you know ball?
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 Do you know ball? Episode 47. We're back. It's been a minute. I hope everyone is having a splendid day today. If you're watching the day we posted, if not, it's okay. You can watch it another day. I'm here with Zach. What's up, Zach?
What's going on? What's going on? I'm super excited to talk about these topics today. We got a lot of good stuff, some questionable stuff. A questionable deal, honestly, was made. News about the Mets, stuff like that. We got a lot of stuff to talk about today. A lot of good topics today.
A lot of good topics, and we haven't done one in a minute, so we kind of have a lot of ground to pick up on. So, without further ado, why don't we just go ahead and jump right into it, right?
Yep, let's jump right in.
I'll go right in. We're going to start with the one and only basketball segment we have today. Hopefully, the reason you clicked on this video, this podcast. But anyway, NBA just had its All-Star weekend, and let's say it was kind of mid. It wasn't anything special in my opinion. Can it be better for the future? Absolutely. What can they do? Well, let's talk about that. But first, why don't we get into the winners of each challenge? Zach, did you watch any of All-Star weekend?
So the winner of the actual All-Star competition, I did not see, but I figured it was gonna be Team Shaq
Yeah.
with Curry because Curry looked pretty locked in. I saw some clips. The All-Star weekend before that, the dunk contest, three-point contest, and the skills competition, I saw that, and I have some crazy
Yeah.
I have an opinion on it pretty much, and it's so bad. It's so bad. I'll get into it, but I'll let you
Mhm.
finish.
Yeah, so I'm in the same boat. I watched every event except for, believe it or not, I didn't finish the All-Star game itself. I just didn't really care. And I think that's something the NBA has to find a way to fix in the future. And we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna get into it. But let's go over the winners of each challenge. So for the skills challenge, Team Cavs won. It was Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley, I believe. See, I don't even know. I don't even know. It's
Um,
right? Yeah. Should
yeah,
be.
yeah, it was Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley, Team Cavs, 100%. No, you don't even have to look it up. I know. It was Donovan Mitchell
It is. I'm
Evan
making
Mobley.
sure.
Yeah,
See, like that's just how irrelevant I deem the skills challenge to be. I think the skills challenge was great back in the day when it was the two
first
players would verse
introduced.
each other
Yeah.
and like they would like race like that. Now it's just like one team goes at a time and you try and get the fastest score and Wemby and Chris Paul, I don't know if you saw, but they were trying to finesse the system and then they got disqualified. I understand doing anything you want to do to win, but from like a fan perspective, I'm sure the NBA was not very happy with it. Yeah, like granted they got disqualified, but it's like the fans come here to put on a show, and when you're just chucking these balls just to kind of go as fast as you possibly can, like that's not entertainment. You're not doing the intended purpose of the skills challenge, which is to show off your skills, making a pass, shooting, everything like that, dribbling. So it's like, it is what it is. I mean, that has Chris Paul written all over it, but rumors say that it's actually Wemby's idea. But whatever, they got disqualified. Team Cavs, they won as expected. The dunk contest went to Mac McClung. I think that was pretty much expected. Stephon Castle actually put on a better show than I thought. Maybe any other year he would have won, but when you're going up against Mac McClung, it's going to be hard. He's got great props. He's got great creativity. Is he going to play again next year? I hope so, because he was the only reason I actually watched the dunk contest this year, was just to see what rabbits he was going to pull out of his magic hat this time. The All Star game itself, Team Shaq won. That's pretty much Team OGs, and it consists of players of LeBron. I mean, he didn't play. Kyrie, Curry, James Harden, I believe Dame, Tatum, Jalen Brown. I might be missing people. I think that's everyone. But the way the All Star game worked this year, for those that were unaware, instead of doing an East versus West or the typical All Star draft they would do, Kenny, Chuck, and Shaq, they each drafted a team out of the pool of players for All Stars. And then Candace Parker had the winners of the Rising Star game. And it was going to be a tournament. And pretty much a tournament style, you win, you move on. And that's kind of what it was. And I pretty much didn't care for it. I don't know about you, Zach, but I want the East versus West passion, that fire. You know what I mean? And I didn't really get it. It's very lackluster, a lot of cherry picking. Um, in 2020, that All Star game, that was phenomenal when you had the target score and you had the kids in the charities in the stand like watching you, so there was actually something on the line. It was great. Zach, what did you think of the actual All-Star game itself?
Oh man. So there is so many things to touch upon. I mean, you
Mhm.
just went over the winners. We
Yeah.
both have to discuss
Oh,
just it as a whole. 3-point contest. Yeah.
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 I didn't.
You
I
forget to mention that. You forgot to mention that. The
only
three
know
point
only
contest winner.
because I wanted to go over the
Mhm.
obvious winners. I
Yeah.
made a prediction on my Twitter and I predicted all the winners except for 3-point contest. So I was going to touch on that last.
hmm
But
I don't know.
yeah, go ahead.
So okay.
I'll go after.
All-Star weekend as a whole. I mean, just crappy. It's just crappy. It's a shell of its former self, really. I mean, like there was I remember watching in the All-Star game was like a special thing, and it was just every year I would always sit, whether it be with my dad or whether it be with a couple of friends, we always watch the All-Star game because it's interesting. Or All-Star weekend because it's just what we wanted to watch. It has become such a terrible weekend now, and it all stems from the fact, listen to this, listen to this. Now, I found this out the other day. But in the All-Star game, in the All-Star game day, there was only 42 minutes of basketball played in a 3 hours or so program.
Really?
Only 40 minutes of basketball was actually played, which is just a testament to everything that went on during that day. I A lot of people hated Kevin Hart and what is his little jokes. Sure, I liked a few of them, but like, okay, enough's enough. We're here to watch the best of the best put on a show. That's the whole point of the All-Star game. And they've gone so far past that. And you would think that maybe with them versing each other and it being like a tournament style draft type thing, it could have been better, but they don't care. And if they don't care and if they're not invested in the All-Star game, then why are we even doing it at this point? Just give the players a week off or whatever. Just let them have off then. Because if they're not going to care, they're not going to try and make it entertaining for people to watch, then what's the point of All-Star Weekend?
Yeah.
And as far as like the skills competition day, that skills competition was terrible. I do agree that they should go back to when it was one-on-one because that was interesting. I liked, especially when the big men were in it, like KP and Cat and
Cat,
stuff like that.
Sabonis, Jokic,
Sabonis.
yeah.
That was really interesting because it was funny. You get to see a lot of two players go head to head, and they're actually trying, putting in an effort to win the contest. Same thing with the 3-point contest. It's just gotten worse and worse. You really didn't have to add much with the starry balls or the Mountain Dew balls from previous years. You didn't have to add that really. It wasn't really necessary, but you did. Okay, that's fine. It's just nobody cares anymore. And
Mhm.
like, we didn't even mention this, Matt. I know you probably wanted to mention the winner of the contest, but dude,
Yeah.
Tyler Hero. I mean, it didn't even look like he really cared to win, honestly. And like, Dame was going for, I don't know. I think this would have been back to back to back, right? Would it have been a
Uh,
three-peat for him?
I'll
Because I
I'll
think he
I'll
won the
see.
past 2 years for the 3-point contest. You look that up while I continue on this rant. The 3-point contest in general, like, dude, I remember I remember so many good things about the 3-point contest. And that wasn't even the worst part. I think the 3-point contest was one of the highlights of the night because although it may have been like lackluster and not
Mhm.
really too much entertaining wise, it was it was all right. It was all right to watch. It was bearable to watch. The dunk contest, however, outside of Mac McClung,
Yeah.
was awful to watch. And I mean, I now remember these. Do you remember the days where there was like 8 participants in the dunk contest? Or like, wasn't there more than 4 people in the dunk contest?
Not that
Or
I
am I just tripping?
feel like you might be tripping. Not that I
I could be tripping
recall.
on that. All right, whatever. I'll move past that.
Eight's a lot. Yeah, no, I was about to
I
say
thought there was
no.
a lot more than 4 at one point, but like people, I don't know. Whatever. I'll move past that point. The point of the dunk contest is to show off your skills and to impress the judges to get a 50, right? I don't think any person was really good in that dunk contest. Besides Mac McClung, the closest thing to him was obviously the runner-up, which was Stephen Castle. But other than that, I mean, the other two guys, duds. I don't know what else to say. They're both the other two guys were duds, but Mac McClung, I mean, he should have dunked for all of them. He should dunk for all of them every single time. It should have just only been him dunking. Jumped over Kia, I mean, jumped over Evan Mobley,
Yeah,
hit it off the two balls in at the same time. Like it was a
very creative.
great
He's just very creative.
performance. Great performance. He's one of the few people that takes the All-Star dunk contest serious. But and then like I just saw too the judges, like it was already off to a bad start. Like it was already off to a bad start. And you know what too? I take some of the blame for the dunk contest too, because I went into the dunk contest wanting to hate on every single person because of how bad the other two competitions of the night were. So I went into that wanting to hate Mac McClung too, and he just proved me wrong. Like his dunks were great. He was the best part about this All Star weekend, including the game. Best part about All Star weekend was Mac McClung. But other than that, nobody's tried. Nobody tries in the All Star game. And you say like, what can the NBA do to make it better? Fix it? Nothing. Nothing at this point. What can they do? What incentive could they give him? The only thing I could think of is is maybe to do something that the MLB did. That's the only thing I could think of, and that is
Um,
go back to the regular East versus West, and whoever wins East versus West gets home court advantage in the finals.
mhm.
Do something like that. Give them something to play for. If you give them money, nobody's gonna want money. They already get loads of money. They're all stars for Christ's sake. They're all stars. Nobody wants. You think Dame wanted that $100,000 in that competition with that kid? No. What was he gonna do with that? He wipes his butt with $100 bill or
Mhm.
$100,000. Excuse me. I don't know. It's just the whole thing. I don't know what they could do to fix it. That what I said was the only logical thing that I could think of. But they have to have some sort of incentive because right now it's just the whole weekend as a whole is just terrible. I don't know, Matt. What are your thoughts on what I just spewed out?
Yeah,
Because it was a
no, I
lot.
mean, yeah. So that's something that has been talked about for a while, and the past 4 or 5 years, the NBA has been trying to get the intensity back in the All-Star weekend. And one of the problems is just the stars themselves. You know the saying, you can't teach hustle, right? Like you can't. So if these NBA players, granted, yeah, it's all for fun. It doesn't matter what incentives you give them, money for charity, like they don't care. It's like when we go to the park and we play as friends and we're just like goofing around, just shooting, throwing lobs and chucking up stupid shots. Like that's what the All-Star game is. There's no incentive. I don't know if the players would sign off on playing for home field advantage or home court advantage in the finals. I think that would truly be a way to, give a testimony to the All-Star game and really like push them to play. But the current state of the NBA, the Western Conference would just dominate. It would just absolutely dominate. And that's part of the reason why the NBA went away from the draft or went away from East versus West to begin with to go to the draft because the Western Conference was so loaded that it wouldn't even be a competition. And the draft was fun. It was fun for like the first year, 2 years, and then after that, it was the same thing of just no effort, no intensity. I did see Frank Michael Smith. I don't know if you know him, Zach. He makes those videos. He talks about sports. Shout out to Frank Michael Smith. He proposed that the NBA does what hockey does. And for All Star Weekend for hockey, they do like a tournament based on the countries. And apparently, it got more viewers and it drew more viewership than the Stanley Cup itself, which is crazy to think about. Imagine the All Star Weekend, you get more views than the actual finals. Like that would be insane. And I'm sure the NBA wouldn't mind it, but essentially for hockey, it's like USA, Canada versus world, and there's another country. I don't remember. For the NBA, it would just be the three biggest markets plus the world team. So USA versus Canada versus France versus Team World. So all the other countries. How that would play out, I don't know. Would that bring intensity back to the All-Star game? I don't know. I don't know. If there's no incentive, like I don't know. Like baseball, you can't just like play for fun, you know? Like you still have to throw the ball by the batter. You still have to make the play in the field. Basketball, it's different. So that just might be a sport thing. And it stems from the stars just not putting in the work. And then um you were talking about the dunk contest, like we should not be getting like no disrespect, guys like Matas Buzelis and then Andre Jackson. We shouldn't be getting those guys. Why can't we get like a Zach Levine and Aaron Gordon? You know, like Mac McClung has made himself a staple in this contest now. So I would love to see him come back every single year because he's one of, if not the best to do it. Why can't we just get one of those guys? I know Ja was tweeting on Twitter, like saying he might want to do it next year. Cool, that would be fun. And then he was also tweeting at Aaron Gordon and Zach Levine, and they said they might do it next year. So if we have a dunk contest of Mac McClung, John Morant, Zach Levine, and Aaron Gordon, that would be crazy. That would be probably one of the best or most anticipated dunk contests we're gonna have for a while. It just all comes down to there needs to be more planning. Adam Silver is just in love with tournaments, it seems. He wants to do a tournament for the All-Star game, an in-season tournament. You have the play-in tournament. Like he just loves tournaments for whatever reason. He's trying to make it more competitive. I don't know. I feel like I'm just rambling. I'll talk about the 3-point contest really quickly. You touched on it. Hero didn't really like it's whatever. I was cheering for Cam Johnson and I was couldn't be yeah, no. Just never invite Cam Johnson to the All-Star weekend ever again because first guy up, my dreams are already crushed. Scored 14 points and that's terrible. That is absolutely terrible for yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Hmm,
But
hmm.
it's it's funny you mentioned hockey too, the hockey
Hmm.
All Star, because that was the other thing that was on
Yeah.
that night, and another thing too, which I'm pretty sure, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure got more viewership than the NBA All Star game, and that was the SNL 50th anniversary show program that was
Oh,
on.
I wouldn't be
That
surprised.
that was on that night too. So both of those things crushed the NBA All Star game out of the water, and also like just viewership, they need it. You talk about they need it. They need viewership. The NBA as a whole is not getting the viewership that it once did, and it's because just people are just losing interest in the league. And
Hmm.
I guess that I don't know if that just stems from like the new stuff that has been added with from like you mentioned the tournaments. Maybe people don't like that as much. But like man, I mean, I don't know what the NBA has fallen off a cliff, and it's been bad. It's been really bad, but hopefully they could get their things together. And also just to quickly wrap this up because we've been
Yeah.
on this for a minute.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
It's been a little bit.
the All-Star, you know, the home run derby for the MLB. That's what I wanted to touch on. This is the difference between, like you just said, when you mentioned Ja and Levine and Aaron
Mhm.
Gordon. It's the difference of having known name players in the contest to having just random guys that you pick off of the team. Like bum guys that you just I'm gonna pull up you're gonna come, you're gonna do the dunk contest. Andre Jackson, you're going in the dunk contest. Though Stephen Castle is really is a good player for the Spurs. You're going in the dunk contest. I can't even pronounce. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce the guy from the Bulls. Matt, you say it, and we'll cut to
It's
you.
like Matas Buzelis.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna try his name. I knew his of him, but I didn't. I'm not messing up that name. Because it will be butchered really bad. But you can pull him up from the like you kidding me? Like you can't get one person. That's the major difference. That is why MLB All-Star Weekend compared to NBA All-Star Weekend is so much better. And you know what? Even the All-Star stuff for the Pro Bowl stuff for NFL, better. Hockey, better. Everything's better than the NBA. It's because they got no name players in it. Or in the home run derby, you always get known players. Teoscar, Bobby Witt, Gunner. From previous years, you got Vlad, Julio, like bro, like Pete. You got every known players. That's all it takes to make the dunk contest interesting is putting in known name players.
It stems with the mindset too, though. It just stems with the mindset. People say NBA players are soft. They don't want
Mhm.
to join these contests because of their ego. They're afraid to lose. MLB players, that's why baseball is the best
Who
sport, man.
cares?
Man, just go out there, have
Who
fun, put on a show.
exactly? Who cares? Go out there, have fun, put on your best show. If you lose, you lose. You win, you win.
We didn't even talk about forgot the rumored one-on-one tournament for next year. Apparently, like
Oh,
I don't.
I didn't even hear about that.
Yeah, there's like they're rumored. This has been people have been wanting this for so long. Like one on one, it's like that's a typical thing of basketball. You pick up a basketball with a friend, you want to play. Let's play one on one. That was a rumored thing to maybe bring excitement back to the All Star game. The winner would get like $1 million. But like you said, like
No,
like like what is a million?
like no,
A
like
million
okay.
dollars is pretty much like the minimum contract in the NBA,
Hmm.
right? So like what is $1 million going to do for a guy like Kyrie Irving, who if he joined one on one, like would probably be one of the favorites just because of how he moves. But then it's like then you get the logistics of like, okay, what if a guy like Giannis or someone like that or Wemby like joined the one-on-one tournament? Like they're just bigger and stronger than everyone else. So like would they not just dominate? Would you do like a guards like they have their own separate one-on-one tournament and then the bigs have their own like what would you do? Would you split the court in half, have the bigs on one side while they play and then the guards on the other side while they play? It's like it's logistics. I think it would be fun to maybe see a one-on-one tournament. But if we're seeing guys like Bobby Portis and like Kyle Kuzma in the one-on-one tournament, as opposed to like stars who should be in the one-on-one tournament, then we're gonna have a problem, NBA. Then you really might just have to banish All-Star Weekend as a whole. Next year is the last straw for me because I truthfully did not really care about All-Star Weekend this year, but I still sat down and I
You
watched
didn't
it.
even know it was on.
Exactly.
You didn't even know it was on.
I
I
didn't.
remember
I
having that conversation with you. You didn't even know it was on. That's how irrelevant it's become.
I
So,
didn't care. I did not care.
at this moment, mark this pod, episode 47. Episode 47 is where me and you mark our last straw with the All-Star weekend.
Be
This
better.
is it.
Be
So,
better.
next year you better impress us. And this time we will review. This time next year we will review what we said about the previous All-Star weekend and go into the new All-Star weekend and hopefully we will come out with more of a positive result on that because it's just ridiculous what All Star Weekend has succumbed to. It really is. It really, truly is. But we do have to move on. We've
We do.
spent
It's been a
quite a
minute.
bit of time on the All Star Weekend. But in other news, yesterday, this just came out fresh, new, for once, right, Matt? For once, we're actually got some fresh content.
Yeah.
Vladimir Guerrero Jr. was unable to reach an agreement with the Blue Jays on a contract extension. Matt,
Mm.
I think the both of us saw this coming. We knew. I think the whole world knew that Vlad had his eyes only set on free agency in after this season, after
Yeah.
2025. He's looking for free agency. He wants to get paid a lot of money. Now, let's go over some things. So, he was offered a contract back in December, back near the winter meetings from the Blue Jays. It was a $340 million contract extension in December. This is again before Soto signed his record-breaking deal with the Mets. Um, but Vlad rejected it. Vlad completely, he said no because his team felt that, in quotes, it was not even close to his number, the number he was looking for. He's going to be looking for a contract worth around 450 to $500 million. And he could thank the MLB as a whole could really thank Soto for that because Soto's really set the precedent for players in their mid 20s to get a lot of years and a lot of money. So he's really started that train. And so Vlad wants his money, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
So both parties worked on a contract extension or worked on talking on about a contract extension till about 10:30 on Monday night. That's when, things went to shit pretty much. Excuse my language, but things really went south for both parties. Both of them couldn't get an agreement, and they both felt like um they they gave it their all. I know the president of the Blue Jays was saying that he didn't leave any dollar amount that he was willing to go over or whatever. He didn't leave any dollar amount off the table. He put everything on the table. So good for him, but still, Blue Jays fans, you don't have Vlad, and now we're getting into scary hours. So Matt, what's your initial thoughts
Mhm.
on Vlad? Because I could go on forever about Vlad right now.
Yeah. So the thing with Vlad is, as you touched on, not a surprise at all. The way the whole Vlad and Blue Jays saga has been going this offseason, I'm not surprised. Um, Personally, you touched on Juan Soto. Yeah, he definitely kind of inflated the market for younger stars like Vlad. No one should ever make that kind of money that Soto and like Otani make, but unfortunately, that's the new precedent for these free agents. So when you have a young player like Vlad, who you can argue is the best first baseman in baseball, you want to say maybe, of course he's going to be looking for a huge contract, maybe north of $400 million, maybe 500. I don't know what Vlad's number is. So I think that the Blue Jays, and we touched on it with Chris a little bit, the whole Blue Jays and everything. The Blue Jays need to do whatever they can to keep Vlad happy because technically his hometown. He was born in Canada, right? So technically, so they need to do whatever they can to make him happy, keep him happy, continue to add talent to the Blue Jays. They've done so. They got Santander, Scherzer, however much you want to value Scherzer to that team. It's solid rotation still. Blue Jays always have some sneaky bats that can light up. Um, but other than that, like I said, you just got to keep him happy, and they need to do whatever they can to bring him back. I don't see them trading him this season, and you don't want to lose him for nothing. So give him whatever dollar number he wants. They're willing to dish out these huge free agent contracts to Sasaki and Soto and Otani. They were in on all of these guys. But when it comes to Vlad, you're being stingy a little bit on the contract. Like, why is that? Whatever money you didn't lend and give to these free agents that ended up not signing with you, give it to Vlad. He is the face of your franchise. He's the fan favorite in Toronto. Like just
Yeah.
just keep him a
Yeah.
long-term Blue Jay. He deserves to be there, and I'm sure he doesn't even want to be there. I saw, yeah, Red Sox, Mets, Yankees. I'm sure they'll all be top suitors for him. He would be stupid to not test the market. To be fair, like he's a great talent, and I'm sure any team would be lucky to have him because he's young as well. So just like Soto, he would be stupid to not test the market. But the Blue Jays need to do whatever they can, like whatever they can to bring him back. Match any offer, double any offer. They have to. If you want to win, have any shot of winning, you have to show that urgency. And for a guy like Vladimir Guerrero Jr., you got to do it for him.
I agree. I agree. And you know what? You know what's shocking to me is the fact that I was unaware, and I shouldn't be because this is the sport that I love the most. I was unaware of good how good Vlad was last year. I was unaware. Do you know his numbers from last year? Because I know him off the top of my dome.
Off the top of my head, no, I don't.
He
You can say
batted.
him.
Go ahead. Go ahead. You look him up. I'll say him. He batted three. I'm not going to get exact numbers on like home run and RBI, but he batted 323 exactly. He had a 940 OPS, and he also had like 30 plus homers with over 100 RBIs. How pretty spot on am I on those stats?
30 home runs, 103 RBIs.
Hmm.
He had a 6.2 WAR,
Okay,
323 batting average.
so exactly correct on
That
the
is
average.
a lot more than it's a lot
Yeah.
higher than I thought.
Did you remember that? Because I didn't know that
No,
he had that good of a
no.
year.
He's been
He
an
had a
all-star the past
crazy year.
4 years. Yeah, he's 25 years old.
Past 4 years was a
Yeah.
runner-up in the MVP in 2021. Um, this guy is their guy. The Blue Jays. are pretty much nothing without Vlad. And you got to think, we talked about this too. Bo's contract is going to end sooner
Yeah.
rather than later. If Vlad goes, you bet your ass Bo is going to be following suit
Hmm.
right after him. It's just it's just a matter of timing. And the Blue Jays have to get Vlad. Blue Jays have to get Vlad. And there was a rumor I saw, or a report I saw on CBS about this yesterday, and they said that he would probably look for a deal that in years is like 13 years. 13 years, probably around 450 to 500 million dollars.
Yeah, he's
That's the contract
25.
that he wants. Yeah, he's going to be 26 soon, I
Hmm.
believe.
Yeah,
So,
but the question is with a guy like him, older he gets, is he going to be like a DH? Can you keep him at
he
first
could
base
be.
long
He
term? It's
could
like those are questions.
he could be, but this is another guy in their mid 20s, in his
Hmm.
mid 20s
Yeah.
that is, entering the prime of his career, and
Yeah.
he wants to be a winner. He wants to be a winner. He wants to be part of a winning team. So there's a lot of suitors. Obviously, you touched on them briefly. It was just, the main three suitors are the Red Sox, the Mets, and the Yankees. Although I do think the Yankees are going to be in on Vlad, and they'll probably make an offer to Vlad. I don't think Vlad is going to be a Yankee. I think Yankees are going to get Munetaka Murakami. Um,
I think the
for
Yankees are going to sign another old first baseman next offseason.
All right, well that's your opinion, I guess.
Mhm.
But the Red Sox, the Red Sox are viewed as the number one suit right now for Vlad.
That scares me.
Um, Scary. It's
Yeah.
pretty scary. It's pretty scary hours because I mean we could just combine the two segments now together since we just mentioned
Yeah. Might as
Red
well.
Sox. But um, you know, with them already signing this big guy that we're going to talk about next coming up, um, you know, their roster's gotten significantly better already with just what they've done this year. That rotation is super clean, and it could be a real problem as long as, everybody stays healthy and pitches the to the caliber that they know they can. So, just getting back to Vlad and stuff, the Red Sox, I could really, if he goes to the Red Sox, that's gonna be a problem. That team's gonna be a problem. Now, the other team obviously was the Mets, and it just makes sense. It makes sense because we already did this. We already ran this once with Soto. Soto's 26. It fits our regime right now, and that is to go with the youth
Mhm.
and build with youth players that'll be around for a long time. Because usually the Mets' forte in the past with like the Wilpons has been to get guys who are aged, completely aged out, and don't have much left in the tank. And when they come to the Mets, they're all right, but they're not that. Robinson Cano is the greatest example. The greatest example. He wasn't terrible with the Mets. He was pretty decent, but he wasn't the player that the Mets thought they were going to get. They thought they were getting an all-star Cano, and that's not the case because he was aged. He was already at the tail end of his career. So, the Mets make sense. Mets make sense because I feel that Steve Cohen already made comments yesterday saying that he wasn't happy with the attendance last year at
Saw
certain
that.
certain
Did see that.
points. So he said, if I'm gonna spend, your butts better be in those seats. The fan, talking about the fans, obviously, but they better be in those seats. So I could see them getting Vlad. I really can. And if they do, I'll be sad to let Pete go, but in the end, I will be extremely happy with what they've done from in just 2 years. In just 2 years' time, added pretty much two franchise guys to the team on top of what we already have. It would be a dream. But there are other shooters. There is not a guarantee. Nothing ever is. And Vlad ultimately has to pick the best option, what's right for him.
Yeah.
So It sucks for the Blue Jays, who are historically in the past couple seasons, have been terrible at landing the key guy, the
Mhm.
guy.
Yeah.
They couldn't. Shohei's on a plane. He's on a plane to Toronto. Oh wait, he signed with the Dodgers. You know what I mean? Soto, maybe again. Could we do it again? No, he
No.
goes to the Mets.
Hmm.
So this is really going to be a test for them, and really going to be, are you going to be about the team winning now, or are you going to be about the team winning in the future? Because if Vlad goes, you have to just turn the whole team upside down. It has to
Hmm.
go completely rebuild mode. I don't know if Matt, if you agree with me on that.
Yeah, no, if you let Vladimir Guerrero Jr. go, I don't see how you can really build a contender without him. Like, if all, first off, you can say, oh, just use the money and spend on other free agents. But if you can't get these top guys to come sign with you anyway, it's like, then that plan just might be out the window. If you can't get your franchise guy to sign back and buy into the future, why would other free agents, have that same, like, why would they have a different mentality? Why would they be like, oh, okay, we can turn Toronto around? No. And the American League East is pretty competitive as it is. I mean, obviously you have the Yankees, the Red Sox now. The Orioles, they're young, they're going to keep getting better. I mean, they didn't really add much, but that's a different topic. The Rays are always going to be sneaky good. So the AL East is a very tough division, honestly, one of the tougher ones in baseball. So it's going to be tough if they do try and build a contender, but I do think that they should rebuild with whatever farm system they have. I should look at their prospects. I don't even really know if they have anyone
Yeah,
crazy.
I don't believe they do. I really don't believe they do. Um, but you know, the Blue Jays, man, the Blue Jays, it's gonna be really tough. It's gonna be really tough to get them. I think this is no longer a walk in the park. And also, just before we move on from this, I can't believe I even forgot to mention this, but some of the statements that Vlad, I don't know if you saw, but some of the statements that Vlad said yesterday were pretty alarming. And if I'm a Blue Jays fan, then I'd be pretty concerned with what he said. So I'm gonna just pull them up real quick. Um, it was really like out there. Like Matt, I don't even know if you're aware. There was one quote really in specific that was like I looked at it and I was like, holy. Um, so there was obviously the initial quote where he was like, they had their numbers in mind, I had my numbers. It's just business. I always say, things happen. We're all good. So pretty much shrugging the whole thing off. But there was another thing he said where he was like, yeah, I mean, we tried to get a deal done. They tried to talk to my lawyer, my agent, and my team. We couldn't get a deal done. And now, as he said, now they're going to have to compete with 29 other teams. And if I'm a Blue Jays fan, him just saying those words, like, now,
Yeah.
you didn't want to give me the money, the contract extension before proposed, my self-imposed dateline or
Hmm.
due date
Yeah.
for to stop talking about contract extensions. Um, you wanna do that? You don't want to give me the money in before my deadline? Fine, fine. That's completely fine because then he'll just go and he'll go to another team. But that's what it pretty much sounds like. It sounds like he's going to another team, and the Blue Jays, they just have to fight for him. That's the moral of this whole situation.
Pretty much. Yeah.
But anyways, let's move on to our next topic. Now this guy, we mentioned the Red Sox, so it's only fitting that we go straight into this next topic. This guy, pretty honestly, I'm pretty shocked that he got a deal done with the Red Sox because if you don't remember this, Matt, Chris actually said that he doesn't see Bregman signing with the Red Sox.
What did Chris say again? What did he
He
think?
said
Chicago?
he said, well, I don't know. I don't remember the exact team that he said, but he said as long as Bregman is still a free agent, he still sees Bregman going back to the Astros. Um,
Uh, that I
he
recall.
saw the
I recall.
Tigers. He saw the Tigers as an option. Um, I don't remember the other teams, but the Bregman and the Red Sox were able to get the deal done somehow. and he is making stupid money, Matt. I don't know if you how you feel about the money he's making, but dude, he got paid. He got paid, honestly. And I don't know if I believe there's opt-outs in the contract if you want to look that up real quick.
Sure thing.
I believe there is some opt-outs, but there is some trouble with this deal. So let me announce the deal first. It's a 3-year deal worth $120 million. So that means he's making $40 million a year, which is absurd, absurd. And the issue too with this signing is now there's trouble in what was supposed to be a deal to transcend kind of the team, to put the team in a better position than it was to maybe compete for the number one spot in the AL East, number one seed in the AL East. So Devers refuses to move out of third base, and
Yeah,
that
that's
is a
crazy.
major problem. That's a major problem. Although I see where Devers is coming from, a lot of people have backed him up. Like Tristan Casas came out the other day and said, "Look, like although Bregman's a really good piece to add to the team, I think third base is Devers."
Yeah.
He even said probably I think quote that Devers was the best third baseman in the league to him. Obviously, why wouldn't he say that? But um yeah, so he's backing Devers up. Devers is not happy, which is not good because your superstar, your franchise guy is no longer happy right now, and you have to make the franchise guy happy, which is what we're talking about with Vlad. Um, I think Bregman should go to second base. I think Bregman he's been preparing to play a new position anyways this free agency. Um, I think he should just go to second base, let Devers stay at third. As long as he wants to play third, Devers should be able to get the opportunity to play third. I don't think it should be just immediately given to Bregman. I think Devers has been there longer. He's their franchise guy, and Bregman, excuse me, Bregman is just the new kid on the block. So he shouldn't just get the rights to third base because that's where he's played for his entire career pretty much.
Mhm.
Um that's just my initial thoughts on it.
Yeah.
Matt, what's your thoughts on this absurd 3-year deal?
Yeah, before I do that, I don't know if you I have the info, I can read it in terms
Okay,
of
go
the
ahead.
opt-outs and everything, and then I'll touch on it. So pretty much Bregman, right? As Zach said, 3 years, 120 million. He gets a salary of $35 million this year and 40 million in the next 2 years, assuming he opts in. 60 million will be deferred, 20 million annually. The deferrals are due by June 15th each year from 2035 to 2046. Absolutely insane. The whole deferrals now in baseball is insane. Bregman can opt out after the 2025 and 2026 season. Boston owes 2 million in deferred money in 2035, 4 million in 2036, 6 million annually from 2037 to 2044, 4 million in 2025 and 2045, sorry, and 2 million in 2046. That's a lot of numbers. I'm not sure if Zach you understood it or if the viewers understood it. I didn't even understand it, but for those that want to jot down everything I just said and get the math of everything, go for it. It's a lot for a 3 year deal. But anyway, yeah, Boston gets their guy. I think this is a great signing for them. As a Yankee fan, I am a little upset. I don't really think they should be hung up too much on the AAV personally. It's a win now move. The Yankees just lost a batter this offseason. I don't remember his name, but he was pretty solid. They just lost him, and the AL East is honestly wide open. Despite the fact that the Yankees did just make the World Series, a lot of things still have to click for them. Like how good will former MVPs Cody Bellinger and Paul Goldschmidt actually be? Will Devin Williams, be as dominant as I think he will be, but just will Devin Williams, be totally fine? Is Max Fried going to stay healthy? There's a lot of injury concerns around him. The Yankees still don't have a third baseman currently. Stanton might be out for a little bit, so it's like there's a lot of question marks, and the AL East is still kind of wide open, despite thinking the Yankees are the favorites in my eyes. So the Red Sox make this move to capitalize on that window, and I think it's perfectly fine. They got Crochet. And having Alex Cora as your manager surely helps. I think that's part of the reason why the Red Sox and Tigers were the two favorites for Bregman for the long haul. And that's pretty much because of AJ Hinch, the former Astros manager, and Alex Cora, who was also on the Astros staff before he took the job with Boston. So having Alex Cora there, I think, is a huge reason as to why Bregman signed. And many players that have played with the Red Sox have said that they've gone to play for Alex Cora. He's a very he's a player's manager. Like I like to think of Aaron Boone as a player's manager that just like they do for the players, but Alex Cora is just more of like a badass and he's like a more hard ass kind of like a all business type of guy. Right? Aaron Boone is more of like the guy that like the uncle that'll like bring cookies to the barbecue, but Alex Cora is the uncle that'll like pop open a can of beer with his teeth and then tell you about his field trip to Mexico in college. Like that's kind of what Alex Cora is. So like I said, I wouldn't get too hung up on the money aspect of it, even though if it is, like 40 million is a little, but Red Sox have money to spend. They're a big market team. I like it for them, and the whole Devers thing is. I mean, I thought Bregman was always going to play second base for them, so I don't
Hmm.
I don't understand why there's this whole like drama around Devers and moving out of third base. I don't
Yeah,
know.
you know what? It's probably going to end up shaking up that way. He's probably just going to
Yeah.
play second base
Mhm.
regardless. But
But if Bregman plays second, say they get Vladdy and they still have Trevor Story, I feel like people forget that. I forget they have Trevor Story. He's kind of fallen off since leaving Colorado. He
he's
hasn't
just
been
got to stay
healthy.
healthy, honestly.
Exactly.
He's just got to stay healthy. If he could stay healthy and
Yeah.
be present for a full season,
hmm
then he could probably
Yeah.
still do some damage. Nobody really knows his ceiling currently because he's
hmm
been just hurt.
Yeah. You run an infield of Devers, Story, Bregman, and Vladdy, and then you still have like Jaron Duran in the outfield, and you have a pretty good rotation. That's a nasty it's a nasty team. The Red Sox are always very gritty. But that's the future. I don't want to think of hypotheticals. The current state of the Red Sox roster, it's very solid, and I think Bregman definitely adds a big push.
100%, 100%,
100%.
100%.
I like it for them.
The and now that I look about it too, and I think about what you said, um, about that they have money to spend. The Red Sox do have money to spend. I honestly, although it is a lot of money per year, I guess there's a lot of things that go into it too that, we mentioned, but 3 years for Bregman is honestly a lot better than what he was initially asking for because initially he was looking for like a
Yeah.
10 plus year deal, like an 11-year deal,
Yeah.
and no team in the MLB really wanted to give him that.
He was looking for a deal that would keep him under contract for pretty much the rest of his career, pretty
Yeah.
much.
And
And
then he didn't get that.
typical Scott Boras contract, nothing was able to come about it and just sign those short year high AAV deals.
Yeah. Same thing with Pete. They both
Exactly the
had to
same
do
thing
the
as
same
Pete.
thing.
And
So,
Blake Snell's a Boras client?
yeah, but I think Blake Snell was like a 4 to 5 year deal.
No, but like originally, like when he signed with like the Giants.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
same thing, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but
And Montgomery too, Jordan Montgomery.
true.
It was the same thing.
True.
So mhm.
Yeah, but the one thing I wanted to say too now before we wrap up this segment
Yeah.
is is it fair to say you could question me, you could put me on blast, I don't care. Right now, especially with the signing of Bregman, I feel like you're going to 100% agree. Especially with the signing of Bregman, I think that the Red Sox are for sure, at least the number 2 team currently in the AL East. I think
Oh,
I put them
yeah.
above the Orioles only because the Orioles just didn't have the off. They lost more than they got back. And they just really didn't have a good offseason.
Yeah.
And then obviously the other two, the Blue Jays, all right, had a pretty decent offseason. Um, and then obviously last place, the Rays. The Rays just got to figure it out, but there'll probably be some voodoo magic going on. They still got Yandy Diaz. They got Junior Caminero coming up, who's going to
Yeah.
be a very exciting player to watch. They got stuff to figure out. They're in the rebuilding process. So, but yeah, man, that AL East is scary. Just like it's one. I think it's one of the scariest divisions in the league. I know I mean, not to even bring up the Mets again, but the NL East is obviously another scary division. I think honestly, NL East and AL East are probably maybe the two scariest divisions in the league.
Hey, NL
Top
West,
two
NL West,
with the Dodgers and the Padres.
and
Yeah,
Diamondbacks.
that's up there. That's up there.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
Pretty
that's
much
up there.
anything that's not the Central for either league, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah, I
Central,
guess.
because that's like the smaller markets. They don't really get that revenue, so it's
Mm,
like
but still, I put AL East over West.
NL West.
No, AL West. I'm talking
Oh
about like
yeah,
100%.
100%. AL West is kind of the same thing because like I mean you have the Rangers and Astros and the Angels should be a bigger market, but they just suck everything about them.
Yeah. Speaking of Angels,
Let's go.
speaking of
Let's do
Angels,
it.
let's
Yeah.
do it. Mike Trout wants to move from center field to left field. Now, the goal with this obviously is to prevent injury.
Hold on.
This
Before we go any further, I thought it
Okay.
was right. I thought it was right field.
Was it right field?
I think it's right field, big dog.
Right field. Okay.
You got to say the intro again now.
All right, Mike Trout. Mike Trout wants to move from center field to right field. And the whole goal with that is obviously to prevent injury because he's been injury prone the past couple of years. So let's go over a little few
Yeah.
things from the past couple of years. In the last 4 seasons, Trout has played 266 out of a potential 648 games, which is terrible. Honestly, this is again. You're a couple of years ago. He was just I don't even know. He's been struggling so much, so very much the past couple of years. But in his initial portions of his career, and even he was three-time MVP. This guy was baseball for the longest time, and now he's pretty much all but forgotten. I think a lot of people feel that way, that he's all but forgotten. And if he could stay healthy, like this is the motto going into every season with Trout. As long as he could stay healthy, he could be a top three or the best player in the league. But he's just never healthy.
Yeah.
So again, last 4 seasons, he has played 266 games of a potential 648 games. These are his injuries from the past couple of years. So in 2021, he had a calf strain that kept him out for the final 4.5 months of the season. Then in 2022, he dealt with some back spasm issues that limited him to 119 games, which at the end of the day for 2022, 119 games, we haven't seen Trout do that in a while. So and looking back on his stats from that year too, he had a pretty good year that year, so I wouldn't really count 2022 as, you know, a bad Trout season. But then we move on to 2023, and now this is where it starts to get more worse and worse. So he had a fractured bone in his wrist, which was his major injury for the year, that sidelined him for almost the entirety of the last 3 months of 2023. And then moving on to 2024, which is obviously the most recent year, he tore his meniscus in his knee, and he that popped up in late April of 2024, and that kept him out for the rest of the year. So those are his injuries from the past couple of years. Now he really hasn't been able to stay healthy. We know that, but if if he could move to right field and stay healthy, then the Angels are going to be maybe like a fun team to watch. I don't know, because I mean when you look at their offseason, I remember I bookmarked this on Twitter because I was even thinking about like talking about this, like writing about this. Um honest to tell you the honest God truth, the Angels, what they did this year with their offseason, they kind of took flyers. Didn't they? They got Jansen too, right? I'm almost 100% certain.
They did get yes, they did.
So Jansen's on top of that in this list, but I just want to read off. These are the players that they've gotten, and now you tell me too if you don't think that if some of these players come through, Mike Trout stays healthy, maybe they become a fun team to watch. The players they added this offseason was Yusei Kikuchi, Kyle Hendricks, Kenley Jansen, Jorge Soler, Darno, Yohan Moncada, Tim Anderson, JD Davis, and Kevin Newman. In terms of names wise, like Matt, like not terrible, not terrible.
I don't know, man.
You
I'm not
got a lot of.
sold. I'm not sold.
I feel like you got a lot of washed up guys
Yeah,
on
yeah.
that team,
Hmm.
but that doesn't mean they weren't good in the past, and doesn't mean they can't be good in the future. Maybe like they're gonna be given the reins on the other teams that these guys like Jorge Soler on his past two teams. Man, like he even when he went back to the Braves, he was he really struggled last year specifically. I feel like a lot of it was kind of unlucky because I remember there was a stretch with the Giants specifically where he was just hitting ropes, but they were frozen ropes to right to the players.
Hmm.
So like right to the third baseman or right to the left fielder or something like that. So I don't know. I feel like maybe we could have a fun team. They could have a fun team if if
I'm not
people
sold on
play.
the Angels, man.
You know what? I'm really not either. But like just like judging off their off season and the names on that list, maybe.
Look. I that's what I said that when they traded for Giolito and then they got Hunter Renfroe. I was like, yo, Angels, they got some names, they're going all in for Judge and Otani. And then they just were terrible and then proceeded to DFA all those players they just traded for. They traded one of their best prospects for Giolito and then proceeded to DFA Giolito. The Angels need to rebuild. I
Yeah,
understand you have Mike Trout, but
yeah.
you're not winning anything with Mike Trout. And if you had Trout and Otani and you still couldn't even make the postseason with them, you're not winning. I'm sorry. You have the Astros who are inevitable in your division. You have the Rangers who are probably going to have a bounce back year, just won the World Series 2 years ago. I mean, you have the A's who are going to be young and they're going to be better than what you might expect. What's the other team? The Mariners. The Mariners are always solid. Can they make the
Yeah.
postseason is a different story. The Angels are just, dead last in there. If you want to maybe put them above the A's, I can understand it, but the A's are going to be a lot better than people think. Like
They
they
actually had
were,
a pretty decent offseason. The
they
A's
had.
had a pretty good. The A's had a really pretty good offseason. I think this is the most money the A's have spent in offseason. It might be ever. I don't know. I don't. I'm not 100% sure on that or sure on that. But
Someone they're notorious for not spending. Someone's got to check on that. Someone has to
yeah,
check on that. I don't know, but I'm not sold on the Angels. But I'm happy for Trout because baseball is better when Mike Trout is healthy, and if he can finally play a full season, would not be surprised to see Mike Trout in MVP conversations.
100%. He's won it three
Mhm.
times in the past.
I
He's
feel
for
like, yeah,
sure. He for sure has the ability. And you know what? You know what? He's not too old to the point where there's no coming
yeah,
back
no,
from
he's
injuries.
like,
He's 33.
yeah, like
33.
that's fine.
He's 33. So he could honestly really just come through at any moment, but he's just got to stay off the
Damn,
injured list.
he's 33, and the Angels have
33.
wasted him, man.
Wasted his entire
That's a
career.
shame, bro.
And you
Like
know what? You know what? They can't even build around. They can't even build around him anymore
they
because he's 33.
they had the keys, man. You had Shohei Otani. That's the perfect person. Perfect person to put with Mike Trout. Like an incredible 1-2 punch. And then you let Otani go cross town. You go to the Dodgers, bro. It's man,
The what
that's
ifs. The what ifs. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if like Mike Trout and Otani were like paired up with people like crazy people, crazy? Just think about the free agents from these past couple years. Like, could you imagine for some reason, if Judge was like, you know what, I'm done with, peace out, Yankees, I'm done. Or if like, and he went to the Angels, or if like maybe like Freeman at the time when he was a free agent, he was like, oh, I'm done. I don't want to go back to the Braves. I want to go to
well,
the Angels. I
to
want to
be
be a part of it.
fair, like Rendon was just not what they
Oh,
signed
that's
up
so
for.
bad. And
It's
you know what?
not what they signed up
We could have
for.
made that a topic today too to talk about
We
because
could
I
have.
think he's set to miss another year
Yeah,
for
he's
them.
done.
That is the worst.
Rendon is never playing baseball ever again.
I think that contract with Rendon is probably the worst active contract in
Has to
baseball.
be. Has to
It
be.
really just has to be because like, dude, if you paid this guy came coming off a World Series in like crazy year too, a crazy year, a World Series ring. You think you're getting a crazy third baseman to add to your roster, and it's never panned out. He's consistently been hurt. He just got hurt again. The season hasn't even started, and they predicted that he's going to be out for the whole year. I'm pretty sure. I don't know what the injury is though. But
It's just a probably it's probably a fake injury, so he doesn't have to go into the fucking
probably,
these.
and then he's just not the player that he once was. He just doesn't care too. And you saw that last year too when he got into fights with fans. Like he's not the Nationals Rendon that he once was. Just like after that ring, Strasburg wasn't that Strasburg really ever again. Things happen. Things happen with players like that sometimes. And you know what? But regardless of that and that situation, there is some bright spots on that team. Um, Obviously, yeah, Logan O'Hop, he's gonna be a really good player, really good catcher. I like if I'm the Angels, I like that he's my catcher currently because he has a pretty high ceiling, I have a lot of potential. I don't want to I don't want to pronounce
Manuel.
Chanuel. Okay, good. I'm happy that you said it first. Nolan Chanuel. He has the potential to be a really good first baseman too. He's shown some glimpses and some signs. They still have Taylor Ward. Um, I believe they still have Zach Neto. They and then with along with the rest of the guys they added. I mean, but the Angels are just such a lost cause too. I mean, they just think about the what ifs, Angels fans. Think about the what ifs. What if you paired Otani and Trout with some crazy free agents? What if you could have won a World Series with that?
Hey, they always try. I feel like they were very in on Garrett Cole. It was between Yankees and Garrett Cole, or Yankees and Angels for Garrett Cole, and hey, they lost out.
Hmm. Yeah, so it's just crazy to think about. I'm happy for Trout if he could stay healthy, but if it's more of the same, it's you gotta think like how much more of these like drastic injuries could Trout take? Because they each injury leaves a scar or leaves a mark on his body and takes away probably some years or so of his career. So you just got to think like too like how long, how much more, how many injuries, how many more injuries could Trout take before it's really the end?
Yeah.
I don't know. Matt, if you got anything else to add, we could stay on this topic or we could move on to the next one.
No, just hoping Mike Trout stays healthy. And like I said, we'll see. If he's healthy, he's an MVP candidate. But we should probably go to the next one.
Exactly. So the next topic is some Mets news. Now, it's not like your typical, you know, Mets news
This is the
either.
the fun Mets news.
This is the fun, I guess, for him. For him, it's the fun Mets
No,
news. But
I
this
don't. This is not funny. This is
this
serious.
is this is we're gonna be talking about Frankie Montas, and now the season hasn't even started, and the Mets rotation as a whole, we've talked about it in the past. I like that they've gotten back Mania, but they didn't do enough with that rotation to make me or to make other fans out there in the world be comfortable with where they're at. Now again, I'm not gonna be greedy. I'm really not gonna be greedy. We had a really good offseason. I'm really happy with the way the team looks, the way the future looks in general. I am super happy with what they accomplished this offseason, and you know, there's only more to come because I've Steve Cohen is a great owner. David Stearns is a great GM. I'm super excited to see what they do in the future. Now, it's not the but so I don't want that to be the main thing. I don't want to bash them really for the offseason because the offseason was great. Anyways, Frankie Montas is out for 6 to 8 weeks with a high grade lat strain. Now that is a problem because he's supposed to be he's supposed to be probably the number four guy in our rotation, maybe fourth, I believe. That's what I either fourth or fifth. So he kind of filled out the rotation along with Holmes in the back end. Um, but he's hurt, and now the Mets are left squandering. What could the Mets do? What could they add possibly to their roster, or what could they keep? What could they do? Like, could they make a trade? Could they add to their roster? Could they look within? I think the most logical explanation for this is to look within. And they could go with Brandon Sprout. They could go with Tyler McGill. They could go with Paul Blackburn. They could go with Griffin Canning. Some of those guys, especially Blackburn and Canning, those are two guys that they signed in the offseason just for depth for this reason, and they could go with them. But there is another guy out there that that's a familiar face that pitched good last year, has been pitching good with them past couple seasons. That is Mr. Jose Quintana. He's still out there. He's not going to be looking for like a crazy deal, although the Mets are over the luxury tax by a significant amount. I think their payroll this year is like $330 million, which is not good. Which is not good. But you know, they could go out and sign Quintana. I know a lot of Mets fans would probably be happy to bring him back, would welcome him back. I surely would welcome him back with open arms. It could be another short-term contract so that they could figure out their rotation in the future. And then there's obviously the rumor mill, which is and we'll get into this too with our last topic, but which is like, do the Mets maybe try to go after Cease or King, which has been the Padres have been rumored to trade since for weeks, months, maybe even now. But that could all change. That could all change because the Padres did go out and get somebody, but we'll get into that later. So I think, as far as like trades wise, I think they're not going to go with that route. The only two logical explanations to do now is really to look within or to get Quintana back. And it might be the best option to go with Quintana, or it might be a really good option to go with Brandon Sprout and just give him the reins, give the rookie the reins. You got guys like Christian Scott too on the back burners. He's coming back from an injury. Um, I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting to see what the Mets could possibly do. So, Matt, what do you think about this injury?
Oh, I'm glad you asked me about this injury. So as a Frankie Montas knower, I'm all too familiar with his game, right? I put his stats on the doc. It seems you didn't want to touch on them.
We could touch on them if you want. I mean,
No, no, fine, it's fine. As long as you see him. Frankie Montas for the past three, four, what is that? Four? I'm stupid. That's three. For the past 3 years, if you want to count this year, four, he's not been reliable. Ever since he was traded to the Yankees, he just kind of went down from there. 2022, when he was traded to the Yankees, with the Yankees, he had a 6.35 ERA. And then in 2023, only pitched one game, and I believe it was a relief appearance anyway. Um, so it was like an inning or whatever. Then yeah. Then he signed with the Reds and then traded to the Brewers and then 5.01 ERA and then a 4.55 ERA. So Frankie Montes has not necessarily been the most reliable, and he's been having his fair share of injuries ever since. Now,
mhm,
I did say when the Mets signed Montes that I did like the signing, only because the Mets have been able to kind of do what the Yankees do with bullpen people. With starters, they've been able to kind of turn their careers around, right? Like you had Sevy, Mania, even Quintana. Like they had their fair share of reclamation projects. So I was hoping the same thing could be said for Frankie Montes. But now that he's out for 6 to 8 weeks, it just kind of makes me want to take back what I said, and it just shows me the Frankie Montes that I was trying to be blind to recognize and notice. So it is a little bit of a hit for the Mets rotation. I don't know how you feel about the rotation. From an outside perspective, it's not the best rotation at all. So for Frankie Montes, a guy you're paying $17 million for, I believe for 2 years. I don't know if there's an option there, but for a guy that you're paying like a good amount of money for, it's a big hit to the rotation. It really is, considering that there's not much there, not a lot of depth to begin with. You have Clay Holmes. I heard Clay Holmes has not been great in spring training. It's been 2 weeks, but like,
He's been all right. I
I
mean,
don't know.
he
I saw
had
a tweet that said he hasn't been good. You're the
so,
Mets fan. You would know. I
so
don't
look,
know.
I mean, I don't think he's been terrible, but all he's been doing is really been facing, Mets batters. So
Yeah.
he's scheduled to make it is start the first spring training game, which it's this weekend against the Astros at 1 o'clock. So he's scheduled to make his first appearance, and I know that he's been working on his changeup more so, or just like his off speed stuff because it really hasn't been there. He's mainly just a fastball like sinker type pitcher. Um, so he's been working on his off speed, especially the changeup. Um, he's a wild card. You know, a lot of people may see Holmes as a dud and a terrible signing for the Mets. And while that may be true, I mean, like, look, there's truthfully, like you could be real with me too. I think there's a lot of options there with Holmes, only because, like, he's got that bullpen experience in the past. Although he may have not been really too terrific in the closer role, he wouldn't have to do that on this team. I don't know. I don't know how great really of a reliever he's really been. Matt, how was he when Luke Weaver took over that closing role?
He was solid. I mean, only because what was I trying to say? Like, you take him out of those, there we go. You take him out of those high pressure scenarios and you reduce his role a little bit. And you have now Luke Weaver take or at yet last year. Luke Weaver was then put into those high pressure scenarios and Clay Holmes can kind of relax for a little bit and then he's really able to show, who he is, Clay Holmes. I'm sure when he first entered the closer role, he's probably hyped and he had a lot of success. But in the moment you blow like a game or two, mentally it starts to add up in here. And then he
Mhm.
just kept doing it. And that's why Yankee fans just deemed him as terrible. So and you take him out of that role, a lot of stress gets relieved, and then he performs a lot better. So that's kind of how it is. And for Clay Holmes specifically, for a guy that does not have a lot of great mental toughness, I think it's very interesting that the Mets are going to use him in a more taxing role and have to rely on him for more innings. Because if he's not able to get out of an inning unscathed for the Yankees, I'm interested to see how he can pitch 5, 6, 7 innings for the Mets. Not to say that he won't be great. He could be. He has great, stuff, but I'm interested. The
Yeah,
Mets have a good pitching coach.
so again,
But this is
I
about
don't
this is
want.
about
I know this is about Frankie Montas, and we're kind of straying away a little bit, but why not? We can make it into two shorts if we really want to. Um,
yeah.
so just to quickly, want to wrap up with Holmes. I think I don't know. Going into the signing, right? Again, keeping everything in mind of just like he can be in a role on this team where he doesn't have to be taxed, or he could be a really just like a setup guy um in the bullpen. Like he doesn't even have to be the number two guy in the pen, which he could be. He very could be, but he doesn't even have to be that guy. Because there's others there's we have a pretty, I wouldn't say a good bullpen, but I think it's a lot better than last year. 100%. We added some pieces that definitely make the bullpen more solid. But just to know that that's in the back burners kind of gives me as the Mets fan, a little bit more wiggle room with Holmes. But they've done it like you said, they've done it in the past. They revitalized honestly Sean Manaea, Sevy, and Quintana's career. Like they did a really good job with them last year, and they ended up being, the guys that we relied on to go out there every 5 days or so and pitch to their their talent and to a new level that I don't think they even knew they had, but that they've been pitching all year. And Holmes is just the biggest question mark. So I think I think worst case scenario with Holmes is the Mets could just slot him back to the bullpen and put him in a lesser strained role there. And then they just trade for a starter or something like that, or get a starter down the line, maybe at the deadline or something. But other than that, Clay Holmes is really just a question mark. Now, just to wrap up too with Montas,
Yeah, I want to ask you a question
go
after
for it.
you're done. Okay.
Go for it. Go for it. Ask me a question.
Did you say Frankie Montas was gonna have an ERA of 3 to 3.2?
Hmm. Why? Did someone say something? No.
No, I mean
To clear that up,
I
to
might have
clear that
gotten
up,
some exclusive sources.
to clear that up, right? We were me and another person were
Okay.
talking about
An unnamed person.
an unnamed person.
Okay. Okay.
We were talking about league averages
Okay.
in ERA, and for some godforsaken reason, I thought like a three was an average, but a three is like a Cy Young, which I d didn't even like clue in to my thought process because I was just put on the spot. But yeah, no, I don't think Frankie Montas is gonna have at the end of the day that good of a year. I could he be really good? I don't know. I don't know. That remains to be seen. Same thing with Holmes. They could, but I don't know. I don't have too much confidence until he shows they show me that they're proven to be good as a starter. And also again with Holmes too, even if he does good for the first stretch of the season, I ain't holding my breath. I'm not holding my breath. I'm going to literally be like, okay, that's good. Because usually with the Yankees, especially if you don't remember last year, you even thought of him as the best closer in baseball for the start of the year. And then he just kind of fizzled out. So
Well, I
that's
never
kind of his
believed that.
that's kind of his motto though. He does really good in the beginning of the year and then he kind of like just like fizzles out. So let's see if he could stay consistently decent to good throughout the whole year. But with that being said, I don't know, Matt, if you got anything else to add on the topic, we can move on to our
No.
last and final topic of the day.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I
I don't
know this is
really.
a longer pod, and usually we try to keep it short and sweet, or easier for fans to follow. But
Say short and
you know,
sweet.
I did. Why?
Real ones, no.
Okay. Well, our Matt, I've been introducing a lot of topics today. Matt, you got this one. Go ahead. Go for
My
Nick
turn.
Pivetta.
I'll keep this one short and sweet.
Go ahead.
Okay. Nick Pivetta signs with the Padres, 4 years, $55 million. Um, so the Padres, they're a fun, interesting team. They took the Dodgers to what, 5 games, right? Was it in the NLDS?
Hmm.
They are a team that is couple steps, a couple pieces away from winning it all, and they are, in my opinion, one of the more scarier teams in MLB. Now, if they still had, a Juan Soto, if they never signed Xander Bogaerts, we could potentially be looking at a very different team. But this team is very tied with money, and for a team that's very like they need every dollar they can get because they are just poor in debt, whatever. Like the fact that they keep going out and signing players is just beyond me. But Nick Pivetta is, I don't know his stats. I'm not even gonna. I gotta.
Yeah,
Let's.
I think they were very, very average stats.
Well,
It's not.
okay.
Yeah, he'd be like probably had like a four something ERA.
Yeah, he was 6-12, 4.14 ERA. Let's
Mm.
check. Actually, that's
He
about
could
it.
he could be good though with this change in scenery. I
He could
mean,
be. I saw the signing and I genuinely thought it was a pretty decent signing. Considering that now there's rumors surrounding Dylan Cease and Michael King could potentially be moved. I guess every arm is as valuable as possible now. Musgrove, as Zach had pointed out to me earlier, is out with Tommy John, right?
Mhm. Yep, he's
Yeah. So
currently he's currently not in the part of the rotation. He's trying to make his way back right now.
yeah,
But
so Musgrove, as we know, is a very good pitcher when healthy, but at the moment, out. So Nick Pivetta is a guy that's gonna need to eat some innings for them, and I'm sure that they'll be willing to pay him whatever it is. 44 divided by 55. I can't do it off the top of my head.
It's a little over
Um,
10 mil a year.
yeah,
Probably
definitely,
like
yeah,
probably
definitely
like
over 10.
12 maybe 11, 12, something like that. I don't know. I'll do keep talking. I'll do the math.
Yeah, no. So for the Padres, I like it. It's pretty decent signing. How they have all this money is beyond me, like I said, because they're in debt and there's all the drama surrounding ownership and trying to sell the team and everything. And Zach looks like he has a number. What's the number?
Yeah, it's 13.75, so it's roughly like
Okay.
14 mil a
Yeah.
year.
I don't know if there's any opt-outs or any deferrals in the deal. I
Probably
don't
not.
yeah, I
Probably
didn't I
not.
didn't see anything along those lines. But no, it's a solid signing for the Padres. They did also lose Ha-Seong Kim, they lost Hader, Tanner Scott, Juan Soto. The past couple of years they have lost a good amount of talent, but one thing with them is they always find a way. They have a very good farm system. Um, you know, they are always replenishing talent. They're never afraid to trade young talent to get current star power. And I respect it. I respect it. Sometimes it bites them in the ass, but I do respect it from time to time. So, what do you got, Zach? That's about it. I don't got much about it. I don't think it changes the outlook of the Padres that much. I still think they're the second
Yeah.
best team. Well, you think the
I
Diamondbacks are
mean,
better than them?
honestly, I think for the moment, I may put the Diamondbacks above the
Okay.
Padres
Yeah.
just because they did more than the Padres this offseason. Because the Padres,
Naylor, Corbin Burns. That's fair.
Naylor, Corbin Burns, those are the two major additions, along with like some minor pieces.
That's fair.
Didn't they also added a contract which we didn't even put on the dock. I guess so. I'm so upset that we didn't even talk about this either. But not even that it's really big. But they extended Geraldo Perdomo. Um. So I mean, like it's something that just happened. I think with the moves, the two especially key pieces that they brought to the team, I think they're a above the Padres right now, only because the Padres had a quiet offseason. But that's not to say that, you know, at the end of the day, the Padres are still going to be the Padres with the team that they got and absolutely rake. Jackson Merrill's going to be heading into his second year, and he could rake. He already showed signs of it last year. You're gonna maybe a fully healthy Tatis all year round. That could help. Um, there's a lot of factors in this team. The Padres are really good, and so it's going to be interesting. I think it could be a toss up too for second place. Obviously, first place is going to the Dodgers because I mean their offseason was an A plus
Yeah.
plus,
Mhm.
but we don't need to get into that. I think it could flip flop, but at the moment before the season starts, I think I have the Diamondbacks above the Padres currently.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, but this signing kind of whatever. Honestly, I mean it's a pretty good signing for them. I mean, Pivetta has talent. He's a talented pitcher. I feel like he just needs the right people, right coaching staff to just bring it out of him. Because he's with the Red Sox, and that didn't really turn out too well for him. And then now he's where he is now. So I mean, there's that. But with signing of Pivetta, excuse me, with the signing of Pivetta, that kind of got me thinking. And like, are they gonna still look to ship away Cesar King, or are they gonna keep him and just rock with the rotation they got now and wait till Musgrove comes back?
Yeah.
I feel like that's the most likely scenario. But they have Cease and King have been rumored in trades for the past couple of weeks. So it'd be interesting to see if they actually follow through and trade them, or if they wait to see where they're at the deadline and maybe trade them if they're not in the spot that they really want to be. Trade one of them for something. So I don't honestly know what they're gonna do with their rotation, but regardless, Nick Pivetta, pretty decent move for the Padres. They're going to be a top team in that division. They're going to be a top team in baseball. They're definitely probably going to make the playoffs too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really all I've got to personally say on the Padres. Matt, you want anything? You want to add anything else or?
No, I think we pretty much covered it all. I think
I
we
think
did.
we
Nothing
did.
nothing additional.
So pretty lengthy pod today. You guys are gonna get a lot of content coming up with videos these couple of days, maybe week and a half worth of videos. I don't know, but this has been fun. It's been fun. Episode 47 is now in the books. 48's coming up, but I would be on the lookout for episode 50 because we may have a returning special guest. So that should be pretty fun. Obviously, we're always looking for more guests in the future, and again, we appreciate the love we've been and support we've been getting on TikTok and YouTube. Just keep up the good work, and we're always looking for criticism and feedback. So just let us know in the comments if there's anything you would like us to do. Maybe there's a specific video, specific player or team or something that you would like us to talk about. Just let us know in the comments section down below. And we will catch you guys next week for episode 48. See you guys next time.